The faint, high-pitched tune, just a whisper carried on the morning breeze, drifted in through the bedroom window. It was a familiar, almost forgotten melody, like a lullaby from a long-ago summer, soft and reassuring to the soul. This distinct, cheerful jingle promised sweet relief and simple happiness on even the warmest suburban afternoons. It was the sound of children's laughter before it even happened. A quiet prelude to neighborhood excitement and fun, a tiny, almost ethereal chime. It signaled the slow turning of seasons and the rhythm of life itself, beautifully. That gentle, distant music always settled Roy Fletcher's heart. A unique song, belonging only to the summer season. This was suburban Illinois, in the heart of 1966, a time of quiet certainty and growing families living. The air itself felt different then, perhaps thicker with hope, perhaps simply more golden and serene for everyone. Life moved at a gentler pace, marked by neighborhood barbecues and porch-light conversations into the twilight hours. It was an era where the days felt long and sweet, filled with uncomplicated joys and simple expectations for all. Roy pushed back his patchwork quilt, its familiar weight, a comfort against the morning chill, and swung his legs out. He reached for his worn slippers, finding them instantly beside the bed, a well-practiced, silent movement he knew. His bare feet touched the cool linoleum floor, a brisk awakening that chased away the last traces of sleepy dreams. Roy padded silently into the small bathroom, flicking on the light switch with a soft, mechanical click and hum. He splashed cool water onto his face, feeling the invigorating spray awaken his senses completely and gently. The old porcelain sink gleamed under the soft bulb, reflecting his kind, steady gaze back at him from the glass. He carefully combed his thinning gray hair, neatening it with practiced strokes before leaving the small mirror. Roy selected a crisp, blue work shirt from his closet, its fabric starched and smelling faintly of laundry soap. He meticulously buttoned each pearl-white button, starting from the bottom and working his way upwards with care. Then, he slipped into his sensible trousers, pulling them snugly around his waist with a gentle, familiar tug. He tied his shoelaces with a double knot, ensuring they would remain secure throughout his busy working day. Roy walked quietly through the hallway, mindful of the sleeping house, heading toward the kitchen for breakfast. The scent of coffee, already brewing, greeted him warmly, a comforting promise of the new day's fresh start. Roy poured himself a generous mug, watching the steam curl upwards, thick and inviting in the morning light. He carried his coffee to the small kitchen table, settling into his favorite chair by the window, peacefully. He gazed out at his tidy backyard, where the dew still clung to the grass blades like tiny, glistening diamonds. Roy took a slow sip, letting the warmth spread through him, preparing for the tasks and adventures ahead. He unfolded the morning newspaper with a soft rustle, glancing at the headlines, perhaps a bit too quickly. His hands, though strong, bore the faint marks of many summers spent behind a steering wheel, a testament to work. Roy savored these quiet moments of preparation, knowing the neighborhood would soon awaken with joyful noise. His modest bungalow, painted a cheerful buttercup yellow, sat proudly on a tree-lined street called Maple Drive. Do you remember the distinct feel of those quiet suburban streets before the rush of the modern world encroached? The houses, each with its own character, shared a common spirit of community and neighborly understanding. Truly, Roy's porch swing swayed gently in the nascent breeze, waiting for evening conversations and lemonade sips. Inside, the familiar ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall kept a steady rhythm for their peaceful home. His kitchen, filled with the aroma of toast and percolating coffee, always felt like the heart of their world. Eleanor's apron, neatly folded over a chair, hinted at her early morning presence and industrious, loving nature. Roy finished his coffee, rinsing the mug carefully before placing it in the drying rack by the kitchen sink. He walked out to the garage, the concrete cool under his sensible work shoes, ready for the day's beginning. The garage door groaned open, revealing the familiar shape of his livelihood, waiting patiently for him inside. Do you recall that particular smell of gasoline and possibility that often lingered in an old, familiar garage? His ice cream truck, painted a bright, friendly white with cheerful red lettering, filled the garage space. It was more than just a vehicle. It was a rolling beacon of happiness, an established summer institution indeed. Roy checked the tires, thumping each one lightly, ensuring they were firm and ready for the miles ahead. He topped off the fuel tank, the scent of gasoline briefly mingling with the morning's freshness, a subtle mix. Roy wiped down the truck's windows, ensuring a clear view of the world and the excited faces awaiting him. He carefully loaded the large cooler with fresh ice, preparing for the day's frozen treats with meticulous care. Then came the boxes of ice cream sandwiches, popsicles, and little cups of creamy vanilla, all arranged. Each carton was placed just so, maximizing space and ensuring easy access when the afternoon rush began. Roy adjusted the small speaker on the truck's roof, giving the jingle a quick test run, a soft, familiar ping. The sound, a little louder now, echoed briefly in the quiet garage, then faded into the morning air, inviting. This simple preparation, repeated for 15 summers, brought a quiet satisfaction to his steady, gentle soul. He paused, looking around the garage, a silent moment of reflection before the world demanded his full attention. The sun began to climb higher, casting long shadows across the neat lawn of his next-door neighbor, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison was already outside, meticulously trimming his rose bushes, a man of precise habits and dedication. Roy exchanged a friendly nod with him, a daily ritual understood between them without many spoken words. Did your mornings also have those small, unspoken traditions that connected you deeply to your community? The newspaper boy cycled past, his canvas bag slung over his shoulder. A whirlwind of youthful energy indeed. Mrs. Jenkins was already hanging her laundry on the line, the white sheets snapping crisply in the gentle breeze. The scent of freshly washed cotton drifted on the air, clean and pure, a true sign of a suburban morning. Roy thought about his route, the familiar streets, the hidden cul-de-sacs, the eager faces he would meet. Each street held its own memories, its own collection of joyful shouts and small, happy interactions over time. He remembered little Susie Miller, who always chose the lemon ice, even on the coldest summer days, and young Tommy Peterson, whose eyes would light up at the sight of a chocolate eclair bar every time. These small connections were the true currency of his days, far more valuable than any money he earned. Roy tightened the last strap on the cooler, making sure everything was secure for the journey ahead now. He wiped his hands on a clean rag, a final touch of readiness, before stepping into his driver's seat. The steering wheel, worn smooth by countless hands, felt familiar and comfortable beneath his own steady grip. He started the engine, a gentle rumble, awakening the quiet morning, a sound of purpose and fresh promise. The truck idled softly, ready to begin another day of bringing smiles to every corner of the beloved neighborhood. Eleanor, his wife of 35 years, emerged from the house, a comforting smile gracing her kind, familiar face. Her hair, still dark with streaks of silver, was pulled back neatly, showing her serene, gentle features. She carried a thermos of hot coffee and a small paper bag, her thoughtful gesture a daily comfort for him. "You'll need this today, Roy," she said softly, her voice a gentle melody he had loved for many decades. Roy accepted the offerings with a grateful nod, appreciating her consistent care and quiet, deep devotion. Their connection, built on years of shared joys and whispered dreams, was strong and beautifully unspoken. Their own children, grown and with families of their own, lived just a few towns away, visiting often. He remembered their excited faces, running out to his very first truck years ago, full of childish glee. Did you also cherish those simple family rituals that wove through the fabric of your daily peaceful life? Eleanor gave him a quick, affectionate pat on the arm, a small touch that spoke volumes of their lasting bond. "Drive safely, dear," she said, her eyes twinkling with a knowing warmth. Always his biggest supporter, Mrs. Henderson, still tending her petunias, waved a cheerful hand from her vibrant, colorful flower bed. Mr. Miller, from 2 houses down, walked his golden retriever. Lucky, a familiar morning, comforting sight. Their little street was a tapestry of interwoven lives, each thread connecting to the next in gentle, caring patterns. The children's bicycles lay haphazardly on lawns, awaiting riders for morning adventures and games of fun. A friendly robin perched on the telephone wire, singing its bright morning song to the awakening, peaceful world. Roy often thought about how lucky he was to live in such a harmonious place, surrounded by good, kind people. He remembered the summer block parties, where everyone brought a dish and shared stories into the warm night. Those evenings, filled with laughter and the smell of charcoal, truly defined their close-knit, loving community. The neighbors looked out for one another, a silent pact of kindness and mutual respect that ran truly deep. If someone needed a cup of sugar or a helping hand, a neighbor was always there. Without any hesitation, this unspoken support system was a true cornerstone of life in their suburban Illinois, peaceful haven. Roy knew that his presence on the street, his familiar jingle, contributed to this feeling of strong belonging. He was more than just the ice cream man. He was a reliable fixture, a friendly face among many others. These were the simple, beautiful truths that colored Roy Fletcher's everyday existence so brightly and joyfully. Roy put the truck into gear, the engine responding with a gentle thrum, ready for its daily, familiar route. He waved goodbye to Eleanor, who stood watching from the driveway, her silhouette framed by morning light. The little white truck slowly pulled away from the curb, turning onto Maple Drive with a soft crunch of gravel. The first faint strains of his cheerful jingle began to play, signaling the start of another summer day's delight. Roy knew that somewhere, children were already listening, waiting for the sound that promised sweet, joyful relief. Roy remembered the summers of the early 1950s, when the air hung thick and heavy over the asphalt streets of his childhood neighborhood. The sun would beat down relentlessly, making the sidewalks too hot for bare feet, even after the street sweeper had already passed. His mother kept the shades drawn inside their small house, creating a cool twilight refuge from the oppressive outdoor heat. Do you recall that particular scent of freshly cut grass mingling with hot asphalt and a hint of distant tar roofing? The old oscillating fan in the living room whirred continuously, pushing the warm air around with a comforting, rhythmic groan. Sometimes, on those truly stifling afternoons, his father would announce a spontaneous adventure, a welcome escape from the simmering house. Roy would hear the jingle of keys and the familiar scrape of his father's work boots on the worn linoleum kitchen floor. His father always seemed to know just what was needed to lift everyone's spirits during the most intense summer days. Their 1952 Ford Fairlane, an old faded blue, sat baking outside beneath the relentless afternoon sun. The seats would be scorching to the touch, but the smell of old leather and gasoline still conjured excitement. Roy and his younger sister, Mary, would clamor for a window seat, ready to feel the exhilarating rush of the wind. The engine would cough to life, sputtering a little before settling into its familiar, reassuring hum and rumble. Can you remember the front bench seat, wide enough for 3 adults or perhaps 4 squashed small children? His father would roll the windows down, the wind rushing into the cabin, carrying with it the sense of summer. Air conditioning was a luxury that simply did not exist for most families like his during those years. The wind was your primary cooling system instead. An artificial breeze created as you drove along. Roy loved the feeling of his hair whipping around, sometimes obscuring his vision, sometimes tickling his eyes. They would never go too far, perhaps only 5 miles or 10 miles to some special destination. It might be a park with ancient oak trees, their shadows inviting and cool upon the grass below them, or a tiny ice cream parlor with a flickering neon sign promising a cold, frosty treat inside its doors. His father would drive slowly, one hand resting on the big steering wheel, the other gently draped over the seat. Roy remembered the rattling of his father's tool bag under the seat, a comforting and familiar sound from his childhood. Sometimes he would close his eyes just to feel the motion and listen to the sounds of the journey unfolding. The sound of tires on cracked asphalt, the occasional distant horn from a passing car carrying through the air. The incessant buzz of cicadas streamed through the open windows, a ceaseless symphony of those long summer days. Do you remember that sweltering sensation before everything had the comfortable hum of air conditioning we enjoy today? One time, they drove to a small lake, its water shimmering like silver beneath the bright, relentless sun. It wasn't a beach, just a small, pebble-strewn shore where a few other families had already gathered. His mother would spread an old red and white checkered blanket on the ground. Beneath the shade of a weeping willow, they would bring a big metal cooler filled with lemonade and a package of salty plain soda crackers. The lemonade was homemade, fresh with lemon and sugar, a taste that defined those particular days. Roy can still remember the taste, slightly tart but perfectly sweet for cooling down on a hot summer's day. Mary and Roy would wade into the shallow water, small pebbles rolling beneath their bare, curious feet. The water was initially cold, but the shock quickly gave way to a pleasant, refreshing sensation throughout their bodies. They would search for smooth skipping stones or tiny shells, small treasures gathered from the muddy lake bottom. His father would sit on the blanket, reading an old newspaper, occasionally turning a page with a gentle rustling sound. Do you remember that feeling when a long day seemed to stretch out endlessly beneath a wide blue sky? His mother would crochet, her needles clicking softly, a calming rhythmic sound in the warm air. She was working on a tablecloth, her delicate stitches forming an intricate and beautiful pattern as she worked. Roy loved the way the threads intertwined, creating something new from simple strands with careful precision. The sun would slowly begin its descent, painting the sky with gentle and beautiful hues of orange and soft pink. The air would begin to cool, carrying with it the damp smell of the lake and dry grass from nearby fields. They would pack up slowly, the folding chairs stowed neatly in the trunk of the well-loved automobile. These memories are like shimmering fireflies, a string of precious moments caught from a bygone past. His father would help Roy and Mary into the back seat, making sure they were buckled in securely for the ride. Sometimes he would tell them a story on the way home, his voice soft and even a soothing sound. Stories of his own childhood, his adventures growing up on a small, hard-working farm in the countryside. Roy remembered leaning his head against the cool window, feeling sleepiness slowly creep in and take over. Houses whizzed by, their window lights beginning to glow softly in the approaching gentle darkness. They would drive through familiar suburban streets, each turn like greeting an old and cherished friend. The occasional chime of an ice cream truck would float from the distance, a sound Roy would later know so well. It was a sound of summer, of long days, and cool evenings after pleasant, simple activities. Do you recall the gentle crackle of an old AM radio as it struggled to pull in a distant station? His father would search for a soft jazz tune or a storytelling program to fill the comfortable silence. The announcer's voice would emanate from the tiny speaker, a faint but clear crackle and hiss. Those moments, just being there, feeling the secure warmth of his family, were very precious. As the car pulled into the driveway, the engine would cut out, and a profound stillness would envelop them. Only the loud chorus of cicadas and the croaking of frogs echoing from a nearby puddle could be heard. His father would gently carry a dozing Roy and Mary into the house through the familiar front doorway. His mother would turn on the small nightlight on their bedside table, a gentle and inviting glow, and they would be tucked into their beds, summer dreams already filling their small, contented minds. Roy remembered the smell of clean cotton and baby powder, a comforting aroma from his early childhood. The house would settle into quietude, only the chirping of a few night insects drifting in from outside. Those days floated by like small paper boats on a slow stream, gently and continuously moving along. Do you ever think about the smells that instantly transport you back to a specific, cherished moment? Those car rides were small jewels in the long, hot Illinois summers of his formative years, a deep memory of comfort and security. Enveloped in the enduring love of his dear parents, Roy often thought of those evenings as he drove his own ice cream truck through similar, quiet streets, listening to the children's laughter and the calls of their parents as they emerged from their homes. Ice cream trucks back then had very distinct chimes, each one sounding just a little bit different. It wasn't the pre-recorded melodies you hear today from the more modern ice cream vehicles. Each ice cream man had his own bell or air horn, a unique and distinct calling card for his route. His father's chime, Bob's chime, was a clear and cheerful jingle, easily recognizable from a distance. It would herald his arrival, bringing chilly delight on sweltering days to eager, waiting children. Roy remembered the anticipation, running out the door when he heard that familiar and welcome chime, and now he was the one ringing the bell, the purveyor of cool refreshment and bright, happy smiles. A simple cycle, an enduring pleasure passed from one generation to the next without much thought. Like a good book, each page simply leads into another new and interesting story to be told. He still felt that small flutter of excitement seeing the children run out, their eyes sparkling with pure joy. Those moments of simple joy and contentment, shaped Roy into the man he became. He learned the value of a kind smile, of a brief, pleasant chat with his friendly neighborhood patrons, and the satisfaction that came from bringing a little bit of happiness into an otherwise ordinary day. He recalled those days with fondness, a gentle warmth spreading throughout his entire body and soul. A time when life seemed to move slower. Those ice cream drives with his father were his first lessons in service and also in simple joy, and about how a small gesture could make a big difference in someone's otherwise ordinary life. His father, a man of simple pleasures, taught him so much without ever uttering a single word aloud. He recalled the image of his father behind the wheel, his gaze distant and fixed straight ahead, his worn cap tilted slightly, a glint of light on the perspiration on his brow showed his dedication. Those summer days were a tapestry woven of small moments, the delicate threads of a life well lived. Each moment, a sensation, an aroma, a sound fondly remembered and cherished throughout the years. Those memories remained vibrant, as fresh and clear as if they had just happened yesterday afternoon. Roy smiled, feeling the chill of those popsicles and the warmth of family intertwine within his heart. He still remembered that old gasoline smell from the fair lane, an aroma associated with exciting adventures, and the way the hot vinyl seats would stick to his legs when he first climbed into the old car. They would never drive too fast, always taking in the sights and the moments as they gently passed by. Those drives were not just about the destination, but about the simple, shared journey itself, a gentle reminder that life is best lived in the appreciation of each passing, beautiful day. Roy smiled, knowing these moments had shaped his life in a profound and meaningful way that lasted. A familiar quiet settled over the peaceful house, inviting gentle and restful dreams to begin. Roy Fletcher's days in suburban Illinois began with the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the distant call of a mourning dove. The early morning sun, still low, painted the kitchen in shades of soft amber, hinting at another warm summer day ahead. He would wake before the children, a habit forged by years of early routes, savoring a few moments of peace. The old Zenith radio on the counter often played soft orchestral music, a gentle backdrop to his morning rituals. Do you remember the distinctive scent of fresh coffee brewing and toast in the quiet moments before the house awoke? Breakfast was usually simple: eggs, bacon, and a generous glass of orange juice, fueling him for the long hours. Then came the familiar task of checking the ice cream truck, ensuring everything was cold and ready for the day. The engine coughed to life with a familiar rumble, a sound as comforting as an old friend's familiar greeting. The white truck, gleaming slightly under the nascent sun, patiently waited for its only an ice cream man. Truly understood the delicate balance of dry ice and salt, needed to keep the treats perfectly frozen. Soon, Roy would be navigating the familiar routes, the melodic chimes signaling his approach to eager children. He loved the specific sound of screen doors slamming and little feet pounding pavement as he rounded a corner. Each day brought new smiles, sometimes shy, sometimes boisterous, all filled with the simple joy of a summer treat. He'd hear snippets of neighborhood news, school triumphs, and backyard adventures. A constant, gentle murmur of life. Can you recall the distinct taste of a perfectly cold popsicle on a sweltering July afternoon? Its sweet chill? Roy felt like a silent, rolling confidant, privy to the small, beautiful rhythms of suburban childhood summers. Midday often saw him on Main Street, a bustling artery of small-town life, connecting homes to commerce. The aroma of frying onions and coffee always drifted from Miller's Diner, a beloved local institution for decades. Next door, Henderson's General Store offered everything from hardware to penny candy, a true treasure trove. The bell above the general store door always jingled a friendly welcome, a sound signifying community. Do you remember the specific smell of a general store? A mixture of coffee, wood, and something indefinable but comforting? Further down, Mr. Peterson's barber shop emitted the familiar buzz of clippers and lively, good-natured chatter. It was a place where men gathered, exchanging gossip and discussing baseball scores with great enthusiasm. Roy would wave to familiar faces, receiving nods and smiles from folks who knew his daily rhythm by heart. The very air of Main Street carried the scent of freshly baked bread from the bakery and exhaust from passing cars. Roy often mused how these small, daily interactions wove the rich tapestry of community life together. His ice cream truck, a cheerful ambassador, played its part in these interconnected, everyday moments. The hours slipped by, marked by the setting sun, casting long shadows across the suburban lawns. Eventually, Roy would guide his truck back home, the chimes now quiet, signaling the end of his workday. A quiet satisfaction settled over him, the good tiredness that comes from honest labor and simple service. Do you recall that specific exhaustion at the end of a long, productive day? A deep, contented weariness. The aroma of dinner often greeted him at the door, a welcome blend of roasting meat and simmering vegetables. His wife, Martha, would be there, a warm smile on her face. The children already setting the table excitedly. Dinner was a sacred time, a moment to share the day's events, big and small, over a home-cooked meal. Laughter and quiet conversation filled the air, the gentle music of a family connected by shared moments. Roy enjoyed hearing about his children's day, their school adventures and neighborhood discoveries, a joy to him. After dinner, evenings unfolded with predictable, comfortable rhythms, a gentle winding down. The radio often continued its gentle companionship, playing popular tunes and evening news reports. Sometimes, the family gathered around the black and white television, a marvel of modern technology at the time. The glowing screen flickered with grainy images, bringing the outside world right into their cozy living room. Do you remember the anticipation of a favorite show on a black and white screen? The simple magic of it. Evenings often featured beloved sitcoms or variety shows, providing lighthearted entertainment for everyone. The television's gentle hum became another background sound, blending with the crickets outside and family murmurs. Roy would settle into his favorite armchair, reading the evening paper, its crisp pages rustling softly. He'd catch up on local news, sports scores, and the occasional national headline, staying informed of the world. Martha often sat nearby, her knitting needles clicking a rhythmic, comforting pattern against the quiet evening. The children might be playing a board game on the rug, their hushed whispers and occasional giggles a sweet sound. Monopoly or Candyland were common choices, sparking friendly competition and innocent debates among them. These were the moments Roy cherished most, the simple, unspoken comfort of being surrounded by loved ones. Do you remember those quiet family evenings? A sense of belonging so strong it almost felt tangible? Outside, the evening deepened, the streetlights casting soft, ethereal glows on the suburban landscape. The lingering scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the sweetness of honeysuckle carried on a gentle breeze. The chirping of crickets became more pronounced, a nocturnal symphony accompanying the family's quietude. As the clock neared 9, a gentle signal for the children to prepare for their bedtime routines. Small footsteps padded across the floor. Then the sounds of splashing water from the bathroom. A nightly ritual. Sometimes, a short story would be read. A comforting voice, weaving tales of adventure and fantasy. Goodnight kisses were exchanged, a tender affirmation of love before the children drifted off to sleep. Slowly, the house settled into a quiet hush. Only the gentle hum of the refrigerator remaining audible. Roy and Martha would often sit for a while longer, discussing their day or simply enjoying the peaceful silence. Their conversations were like a comfortable old sweater, familiar and warm, woven with years of shared experiences. Do you remember those quiet moments with your partner? When words weren't always necessary to feel deeply connected. Sometimes, they'd quietly plan for the next day, anticipating chores and simple pleasures awaiting them. Roy felt a profound contentment with his life, its predictable rhythms and abundant, quiet joys. It was a good life, a simple life, yet rich with purpose and the warmth of a loving family. Finally, Roy would rise, stretching his shoulders, preparing for his own journey to sleep. His mind replayed snippets of the day. Children's laughter, the quiet hum of his truck, Martha's smile. A feeling of deep peace settled over him. Like a gentle blanket pulled up to his chin, the world outside was silent now, save for the occasional distant bark of a dog or the rustle of leaves. Roy treasured these moments of quiet reflection. The day's gentle, only those who worked hard and loved well understood the true sweetness of approaching slumber. Do you remember falling asleep with that profound sense of peace, knowing another day was well lived? Tomorrow, the sun would rise again, bringing with it new routes, new smiles, and new memories to be made. His life, though seemingly ordinary, was extraordinary in its gentle consistency and heartfelt connections. It was built on the small, precious moments that, accumulated over time, formed a rich, fulfilling existence. Roy Fletcher, the ice cream man, understood the simple poetry of a summer day in suburban Illinois. He had witnessed 15 summers from the driver's seat, a unique vantage point on childhood and community. The sound of children's running feet was his constant soundtrack, a melody of innocent joy and eager anticipation. Every house he passed held its own small stories, its own quiet dramas, its own vibrant, living breath. And in his own way, with his sweet treats and cheerful chimes, Roy was an integral part of it all. Do you remember a familiar figure from your own childhood? Someone who brought a simple, consistent joy. The seasons turned, summer giving way to autumn, then winter, and always back to the warmth of July. Each day was a new chapter, a fresh page in the ongoing story of his tranquil, contented existence. The familiar chimes of his truck were more than just music. They were a beacon of childhood delight. These simple, daily rituals formed the bedrock of a life well lived, deeply rooted in its community. Roy was a constant, a comforting presence, as dependable as the sunrise itself for the neighborhood. He saw the subtle changes over the years, new families moving in, children growing tall and moving on. Yet, the essence of summer, of childhood, and of simple pleasures remained beautifully eternal. Do you ever feel that certain things, like the joy of a summer day, never truly change, only evolve? Each new morning was a gentle invitation to another day of purpose, another day to serve and be present. The memories woven through those 15 summers were a treasured tapestry in Roy's quiet heart. Dawn broke, painting the sky with soft hues, promising the familiar rhythms of another beautiful day. Life, in its gentle, unfolding way, continued its beautiful, steady course through the Illinois suburbs. Roy Fletcher drifted into sleep, his dreams filled with the faint echoes of children's laughter. His slumber was peaceful, a quiet reward for a day spent spreading joy, one frozen treat at a time. The house was still, wrapped in the comforting silence of a summer night, a blanket of calm. Outside, the stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against the deep velvet of the night sky. Another day concluded, folding itself gently into the past, awaiting the dawn of a new one. Each day a gift, unwrapped and lived with quiet appreciation, then gently put away for reflection. And so, the quiet, steady rhythm of Roy Fletcher's life continued, a testament to enduring simplicity. Good night. Roy often thought about the strong sense of community flourishing across these quiet suburban streets, a feeling quite unique to that particular era. Each family was truly an essential part of a vast, interconnected network, always ready to offer support and companionship. Homes often had their doors wide open, children's laughter floating freely across the meticulously manicured green lawn. Do you recall those days when everyone knew your name? When life felt a little simpler and profoundly more connected? Roy witnessed these enduring connections firsthand while driving his ice cream truck through the familiar, tree-lined streets. 15 summers had now passed, and he had observed many families grow and change through the passing years. Mr. Johnson, the owner of the local general store, always knew what everyone needed before they even had to ask. That was a subtle detail that only true small-town residents could ever genuinely comprehend the full meaning of. He remembered Mrs. Henderson with her vibrant petunia garden and her consistently warm smile every single morning. She would often wave to Roy as he drove by, a simple, comforting daily ritual they both shared. Miss Albright, the dedicated elementary school teacher, had already taught 3 generations of children in the very same suburban school. Her heart was a well-worn library, filled with countless stories of local children's growth and their early discoveries. Roy often saw her buying vanilla ice cream on Sunday afternoons after church, smiling quietly to herself. Do you recall a particular teacher who left such a lasting impression on your own life's journey? This entire community was built upon a strong foundation of trust, mutual respect, and shared, cherished values. Church services were truly central to everything, where everyone would gather together to sing their beloved hymns. Afterward, they would often linger outside, exchanging neighborhood news and discussing plans for the coming week. The ladies' Sunday hats and the gentlemen's crisp shirts made the scene feel vibrant and beautifully alive with joyful color. The annual county fair was a major highlight, drawing people from all the neighboring towns and villages. The scent of popcorn and cotton candy mingled with cheerful music and the delighted laughter of children. Roy always parked his truck near the game booths, knowing it would be the busiest spot during the fair's evenings. A good ice cream man understood that Saturdays were for carnival games and collecting those grand, exciting prizes. Do you have any cherished memories of winning a big prize at the county fair when you were just a child? Local festivals also provided opportunities for everyone to showcase their talents and their strong sense of belonging. Mrs. Peterson's apple pie baking contest was legendary, and everyone eagerly awaited the delicious results. Roy secretly hoped she would buy a strawberry ice cream bar after her glorious, much-anticipated victory. These recurring events created the steady rhythm of suburban life, a comforting and gentle symphony of shared experiences. Each house was a distinct note, each family a melodic phrase, blending together in perfect, quiet harmony. Roy remembered Mr. Miller, who meticulously kept his lawn perfectly manicured every single week without fail. He took immense pride in it and would sometimes show it off to Roy when he stopped his truck to say hello. These small, roadside conversations were truly the backbone of the community, reinforcing their everyday connections. A truly good ice cream man always knew how to listen to the small, everyday stories of all his residents. Do you recall those simple, everyday conversations with people you met daily? The quiet little stories? Roy's steady presence was an integral, unwavering part of that neighborhood's comfortable, familiar fabric. The cheerful jingle of his ice cream truck was a welcome signal for a small, sweet joy in the summer heat. Children ran out, adults waved, all creating a perfect tableau of a beautiful, bygone era. It was a kind of connection that modern time and new technologies seem to have slowly, gently eroded away. Do you ever feel that the world today might be missing a little of that intimate, comforting closeness? The school secretary, Mrs. Davis, always bought 2 ice cream cones for her visiting grandson and granddaughter. She would tell Roy about the children's latest antics, her eyes sparkling with a familiar, gentle joy. These were small, simple moments that forged an invisible thread between everyone in the quiet neighborhood. Relationships extended beyond mere transactions, encompassing the shared fabric of everyday life itself. Mr. Smith, the local carpenter, would often give Roy small, finely crafted wooden boxes for his change. He would always smile and say it was his quiet, heartfelt way of showing his genuine appreciation. These numerous small acts of kindness truly defined the spirit of the suburban area during that particular time. Do you remember a small, unexpected gift from someone you didn't know particularly well? A kind gesture? Summer brought its endless long afternoons and its cool, pleasant evenings for people to gather outside. The chirping of crickets blended with the soft, murmuring conversations of neighbors on their front porches. It was a gentle symphony of life, a quiet, soothing lullaby before the deep darkness of night fully settled in. Roy felt like he was truly a part of something much larger, something incredibly special and wonderfully precious. He had watched children grow up, then have children of their own, continuing the life cycle in the same neighborhood. It was like watching a small, tiny seed slowly grow into a tall, majestic, sheltering oak tree over many years. These accumulated memories had shaped Roy, enriching his very soul, little by little, day by day. He was grateful for every single shared moment, every genuine smile, and every friendly, passing wave. An insider fact only ice cream men knew. The truck's jingle had to be gentle enough, never too overwhelmingly loud. A too loud jingle could disturb neighbors resting or quiet babies taking their afternoon naps. The best street vendors always respected the precious peace and quiet of every single neighborhood they passed through. Do you recall the distinct sound of an ice cream truck's chime or a street vendor from your own childhood? Roy remembered Mr. Peterson, who had volunteered for the Youth Baseball League for over 20 years. He always had a cheerful joke or a warm, encouraging word for the shyer, less confident young boys. He would often buy ice cream for the entire team after every game, regardless of whether they won or lost. His generous spirit was a shining beacon of that enduring, unbreakable community spirit. The summers flowed by like a gentle, meandering river, carrying with them sweet, cherished memories. Each summer was a fresh, new page in Roy's life story, filled with countless, endearing tales. The scent of freshly cut grass, the chirping of happy birds, and his own familiar ice cream truck jingle. Are there any specific scents or sounds that transport you back to a particular time in your own past? Neighbors cared for each other like one large, extended family, blurring the distinct lines between separate households. They shared meals, stories of joy and sorrow, and honest, heartfelt advice from their very souls. And Roy, the humble ice cream man, was a quiet, unassuming witness to all of that inherent goodness. He was an invisible thread, delicately connecting each person, each family, within their close-knit community. Mr. Williams, the kind old veteran, always met the ice cream truck with a crinkled smile and a new story. He would recount tales of his younger days' adventures when roads were far away and vastly different. Roy listened, nodded, and handed him the orange push-up pop that had become his consistent favorite. A truly good ice cream man knew that sometimes the most important thing was a genuine, listening ear. Do you have a friend or family member who enjoys telling old stories about their fascinating life? These simple, unassuming moments were truly the bedrock of a meaningful, wonderfully fulfilling life. They were the quiet, sturdy bricks that built the cozy home of memories within each person's soul. As the golden sun began its slow descent, long shadows stretched across the now quiet, empty streets. The children's laughter slowly faded, and a gentle, comforting quiet settled softly over everything. Roy drove his truck homeward, its familiar jingle echoing softly through the still, evening air. He thought about the many faces he had seen, the numerous stories he had quietly heard throughout the day. Another day had passed, another summer slowly winding its way toward its gentle final months. Each stop, each friendly greeting, was an affirmation of that enduring, unwavering connection. That connection was a precious gift, a priceless treasure from a time that is now gently past. Roy knew he was a quiet part of something that many future generations would forever fondly remember. The houses faded into twilight, their windows softly glowing like tiny, distant, comforting stars. The night sky stretched endlessly overhead, carrying the profound quiet of a world peacefully asleep. Do you feel a sense of profound peace remembering those quiet, tranquil evenings in your old neighborhood? The radio played soft, soothing melodies, blending with the gentle hum of the ice cream truck's engine. It was a moment of quiet contemplation, of deep gratitude, and of profound, simple contentment. The quiet, empty streets seemed to whisper ancient, comforting fairy tales of a time long past. And Roy, the ice cream man, was the quiet, faithful guardian of those precious stories within his own heart. He had witnessed the quiet beginning and the gentle end of many summers, of many cherished memories. The ice cream truck rolled slowly onward, taking him back to the peaceful quiet of his own beloved home. Another day concluded. Another day, he had brought simple joy to his familiar, cherished neighborhood. The jingle fell silent, only the soft hum of the ice cream truck's engine lingering in the settling night. There was no rush, nothing that needed to be hurried in this tranquil, comforting moment. Only a deep sense of contentment, profound gratitude, and a warm, familiar feeling in his heart. A peaceful night's sleep awaited him after a long day of serving this small, dear community. And tomorrow, the sun would rise once more, bringing with it new stories and fresh, bright smiles. The aroma of Clara's coffee always filled their kitchen each morning, a comforting start to Roy's busy summer days. Roy would whistle softly as he prepared his ice cream truck, checking the freezer and stocking every favorite flavor. Did you ever have a particular morning ritual that just made your entire day feel absolutely right and settled? He knew exactly which routes brought the biggest smiles, anticipating the children's joyful shouts around every corner. Summers in suburban Illinois were a symphony of lawnmowers, sprinklers, and distant baseball game announcers. Clara tended her vibrant petunias and marigolds, ensuring their front porch always looked inviting and cheerfully bright. Their son, David, 19 years old, often helped Roy load the heavy ice cream cartons early on warm mornings. David's laughter echoed through the garage, a sound as familiar and welcome as the jingle of Roy's ice cream truck. He spoke of college dreams and perhaps traveling west, painting vivid pictures of a future full of exciting possibilities. Clara would pack David a hearty lunch, wrapping sandwiches in wax paper with a mother's enduring, quiet devotion. She always tucked in an extra cookie, a little secret gesture known only between her and her growing boy. Roy loved listening to David recount his summer job stories during dinner, tales of friends and youthful adventures. The evenings often brought them together on the porch, watching fireflies dance like tiny stars in the twilight garden. Roy and Clara discussed small-town happenings, planning their weekend trips to the lake or local farmers market. The steady rhythm of their lives felt as reliable as the turning seasons, each day flowing smoothly into the next. David sometimes strummed his guitar, soft melodies drifting through the open windows. On warm, gentle breezes, life possessed a comfortable familiarity, like a well-worn armchair. Offering solace after a long and fulfilling day, Roy cherished these tranquil moments, the quiet hum of family life, a constant, precious background melody. He knew every single crack in the sidewalk on Elm Street, a map of his familiar, unchanging world. The days stretched long and golden, promising endless summers and perpetual, peaceful contentment. Then a slim envelope arrived one Tuesday afternoon, resting innocently on the polished mahogany table in the hall. It bore a government seal, its official weight feeling unexpectedly heavy in Clara's gentle, trembling fingers. David received a letter requesting his presence, a formal summons that quietly shifted their household's serene atmosphere. Roy found Clara staring at the envelope later, her usual cheerful countenance replaced by a subtle, pensive quiet. He remembered the feeling of similar letters from his own youth, a distant echo of duty and uncertain paths. David read the words carefully, his youthful face becoming a little more serious than Roy had ever seen it before. The family discussed his options around the dinner table, their voices softer, their usual cheerful banter notably absent. Roy tried to offer practical advice, though his heart felt a peculiar weight, a new, unfamiliar pressure settling within him. Clara began spending extra time tending her garden, her focused movements betraying a quiet, inner contemplation. She fussed over David's favorite meals, filling his plate with a little more care, and perhaps a silent, unspoken wish. Did your mother ever have a special dish she made when someone faced a big decision or a journey ahead? David started taking longer walks in the evenings, sometimes not returning until the streetlights flickered on. He'd sit on the porch swing, gazing at the familiar stars, contemplating choices that felt much larger than their small town. Roy noticed David packing a small bag one evening, his movements deliberate, his expression thoughtful and determined. The decision was made with quiet resolve, a path chosen that would take their son far beyond the comfort of home. Clara ironed David's favorite shirt, her hand pressing out, not just wrinkles, but perhaps a few hidden worries too. A subtle shift occurred within their home, as if the very air itself had become slightly thinner, holding a new expectation. The sound of David's guitar grew less frequent, replaced by the soft rustle of preparations and hushed conversations. The family spoke of travel plans, the destination vague, but the purpose clear, a necessary departure for their boy. A new chapter was beginning, marked not by celebration, but by a quiet understanding of life's unfolding passages. The morning David left, the house felt strangely vast and empty, even with Roy and Clara still inside its walls. His absence created a silence that hummed in every room, a stark contrast to his earlier vibrant presence. Clara would often sit by the window, hands folded in her lap, watching the empty street for no particular reason at all. Roy found himself checking the mailbox more frequently, anticipating a word, a sign, anything from their boy. The familiar creak of the screen door sounded different now, no longer announcing David's cheerful comings and goings. Did you ever feel a quiet ache when a loved one departed, even knowing their journey was for a good and necessary purpose? Roy sometimes caught Clara tracing patterns on David's empty bedroom door, a silent gesture of maternal longing. The ice cream truck still played its joyful tunes, but Roy's own heart carried a different, softer melody while driving. He saw other boys playing baseball in the park, and for a moment, he'd imagined David's familiar, strong swing. The house seemed to hold its breath after he left, waiting for a whisper of his return, or at least some news. Clara started leaving the porch light on later, a tiny beacon shining into the vast, quiet, suburban night. Meals at the dinner table felt a little less hearty, the conversation shorter, often punctuated by thoughtful pauses. Roy noticed Clara had stopped humming her favorite tunes while doing chores, her usual lightheartedness subdued. He often cleaned David's old baseball glove, running his fingers over the worn leather, remembering countless games. The days moved slowly, each passing hour stretching into a patient, watchful anticipation for something unknown. News reports on the radio about distant lands felt more personal, their headlines carrying a new, unsettling resonance. Roy would carefully check the newspaper classifieds, searching for anything that might hint at David's whereabouts. Clara polished David's old trophies, their shiny surfaces reflecting the quiet, enduring pride of a parent's heart. The air in the house seemed to carry an unspoken question, a silent query hanging between them about David's well-being. Roy would sometimes just sit in David's empty chair, feeling the cool fabric, imagining his son's presence there. The seasons continued their predictable dance. But for Roy and Clara, time felt like it was holding its breath. They spoke often of David, recounting cherished memories, keeping his spirit alive in their daily conversations. Did you ever find comfort in remembering shared stories when someone important was far away or out of reach? The neighbors offered their quiet support, understanding the unspoken weight that settled upon the Fletcher home. Roy noticed Clara sometimes wore David's old sweater on cooler evenings, finding a small comfort in its familiar warmth. The small town's rhythm continued, but their family lived within a slightly different, more muted, internal cadence. Every distant car door closing, every approaching footsteps outside, would briefly capture Clara's hopeful attention. The silence was not empty, but rather filled with a quiet, constant thrum of love and patient, unwavering expectation. Roy continued his ice cream rounds, his cheerful calls a familiar comfort to the neighborhood children, yet his thoughts drifted. Their world had subtly expanded, now encompassing a much larger, more uncertain geography, where their son now resided. A letter finally arrived one crisp September morning, his familiar handwriting scrawled across the thin blue airmail paper. Clara's hands trembled slightly as she opened it, unfolding the pages with a mixture of apprehension and immense relief. David described his new surroundings, small details about his bunkmates, and the unexpected warmth of the southern sun. He mentioned the food was decent, but certainly not as good as Clara's Sunday pot roast, making her smile softly. Roy read over her shoulder, absorbing every word, feeling a quiet sigh of relief escape from deep within his chest. The simple news of his well-being was a balm, a gentle rain after a long period of dry, anxious waiting. Did you ever receive a letter from afar that brought such a profound sense of peace and joyful reassurance? David had found his place, adapting to the new routines, with the resilience and spirit Roy always admired in his son. The words painted a picture of everyday life, ordinary moments that reassured them of his continued safety and presence. Clara carefully placed the letter on the mantelpiece, a tangible connection to their son, a comfort for her anxious heart. She started humming again while watering her petunias, a soft, familiar tune signaling a gentle return of her usual cheer. Roy found a renewed spring in his step on his ice cream route, the weight on his shoulders noticeably lighter now. They understood David was strong, capable of navigating this new path. Even though it led him far from their sight, the acceptance settled gently, a quiet understanding that growth often requires stepping into the wide, unknown world. Roy realized their son was becoming his own man, forging his own experiences, shaping his unique, independent future. The waiting had taught them patience, a profound lesson in the enduring strength of a parent's unwavering love. Clara began writing David long letters in return, filling pages with news of home and endless quiet encouragement. The house felt a little less empty, now filled with the echoes of David's words and the promise of future correspondence. Roy understood that love could stretch across many miles, a strong, invisible thread connecting hearts through distance. Their quiet tension had evolved into a steady, hopeful expectation, a new rhythm for their family's enduring journey. The cicadas continued their summer song outside, a comforting sound despite the world's quiet, personal changes. Roy finished his final ice cream route of the season, carefully cleaning his truck for its long winter slumber. The neighborhood children waved goodbye, promising to return next spring for their favorite chilly, sweet treats. Clara began planning their autumn garden, envisioning bright chrysanthemums and sturdy goldenrod blooms. They walked hand in hand on cooler evenings, enjoying the crisp air, discussing plans for the approaching holidays. Did you ever anticipate the change of seasons, feeling a fresh sense of renewal with each new beginning? Roy Fletcher often sat on his porch in the quiet of evening, remembering 15 summers spent driving his ice cream truck. A profound sense of peace settled over him, like the gentle twilight after a long, sunny, and most fulfilling day. He was 62 years old in 1966, a man who knew the rhythm of summer and the joy it brought. Do you ever revisit old routes in your mind, recalling every turn and familiar landmark from years gone by? Every morning, the thought of his daily journey through Elmwood's streets felt like a fresh, sweet adventure awaiting him. Roy truly loved his work, a simple endeavor that brought widespread smiles and much happiness to many. The familiar, slightly tinny jingle of his truck's bells was a symphony of anticipation for countless children. That specific sound held an almost magical power, transforming quiet afternoons into lively, joyful scenes. It signaled the imminent arrival of frozen delights, a temporary escape from summer's sweltering heat. Roy Fletcher was the quiet conductor of this delightful daily suburban orchestra. A bringer of pure joy, he meticulously arranged his frozen treats, always ensuring the popsicles and fudsicles were perfectly chilled. An insider secret, keeping everything rock solid on a 90-degree day required a truly special freezer and effort. He recalled the enduring popularity of the classic Good Humor bars, a true staple of those sweet summer days. These beloved frozen treats, like the creamsicle, can still be found in many grocery store freezers today. Roy knew which house preferred chocolate and which little hands always reached for the refreshing strawberry. He could still picture young Tommy Miller's wide grin as he received his coveted chocolate eclair bar. Don't you find joy in the smallest, most consistent pleasures, those simple moments that truly define happiness? Sometimes, the long hours and the relentless summer heat made him feel slightly weary and quite drained. Yet, the sight of excited children always recharged his spirit, dissolving any lingering fatigue completely. Roy was not without his imperfections. He sometimes grumbled softly about the rising cost of gasoline, but his commitment to his route and his young customers never wavered, remaining steadfast and true. He knew every crack in the sidewalk, every barking dog, and every shortcut through the leafy suburban blocks. Each house held its own silent story, a backdrop to countless childhood memories unfolding daily. Roy watched neighborhoods grow and change, seeing young saplings become towering, shade-giving trees. During the quieter winter months, he sometimes worked at a hardware store, preparing for summer's return. He saw children grow into teenagers, and then sometimes watched their own little ones run toward his truck. It was a quiet, profound satisfaction, a feeling of being a small but cherished part of their unfolding lives. The enthusiastic shouts of "Ice Cream Man" were music to his ears, a constant reminder of his purpose. He distinctly remembered little Mary Jenkins's unique call, always a high-pitched, joyful squeal. Children's pure, unadulterated joy is a precious currency, more valuable than any sum of money ever could be. Do you ever miss the simple, uncomplicated happiness of childhood? When a small treat brought such immense delight, Roy's life was unassuming. Yet it was filled with countless small, meaningful interactions every single day. He was a silent fixture of the community, a steady presence through 15 glorious and memorable summers. Like a sunbeam on a warm afternoon, he brought light and sweetness wherever his truck journeyed. The memories were vivid, clear as the freshest vanilla ice cream on a perfectly crisp waffle cone. He recalled the sweet, sugary smell of melting ice cream mixed with a hint of exhaust from his old engine. It was the unmistakable aroma of summer, a scent that still transported him back to those busy routes. He had served thousands of children, each one a unique face in the joyful blur of summer days. The quiet, tree-lined streets of Elmwood, Illinois, were his office, his sanctuary, and his faithful companion. Many of those same streets, with their mature oaks and sturdy maples, stand much the same even now. The golden afternoon light always seemed to paint the suburban landscape with a special, nostalgic glow. Each passing summer brought new faces, new laughter, and a fresh chapter to his simple, contented life. He learned to read the subtle cues of children, discerning their preferences even before they spoke a word. Sometimes, a simple nod or a shy pointing finger was all the communication truly needed for them. He could almost hear young Billy Peterson's booming laugh echoing down the street, anticipating his favorite treat. Isn't life truly composed of these countless, tiny, joyful moments, strung together like precious pearls? Roy never sought grand adventures or widespread fame. His desires were modest and quite simple. A good day meant full freezers, happy children, and a route completed without any mechanical troubles. He cherished the quiet satisfaction of a job well done, the simple dignity of honest, hard work. His existence was rich, not in material wealth, but in the countless smiles he had truly inspired. Roy was a steadfast presence, a reliable ice cream man for the whole Elmwood community for many years. He felt a quiet pride in his work, knowing he brought a little sweetness to so many ordinary days. The scent of freshly cut grass, another enduring summer staple, often mingled with the sweet aroma of sugar. Many of the red brick ranch homes he visited still stand today, emblems of that enduring suburban era. And on many porches, the American flag still waves gently, a timeless symbol overlooking the quiet streets. He often remembered the serene quiet of afternoons before his jingle broke the pleasant suburban calm. Those moments of stillness were like a deep breath before the joyous flurry of eager, excited customers. Roy had witnessed the world change around him, yet the essence of summer fun remained constant. Children still ran with the same enthusiastic abandon, their faces alight with hopeful anticipation. Have you ever noticed how the most unexpected places can hold the most enduring and treasured memories? Roy found a deep and abiding peace in his simple, repetitive, yet profoundly meaningful daily tasks. His steady presence was a quiet comfort, a reliable anchor in the ever-shifting tides of daily life. He had chosen his path, a route lined with happy faces and the sweet promise of summer's simple delights. There were no regrets, only a quiet contentment that settled deep within his seasoned and gentle heart. Life, he reflected, was a series of simple gifts, unwrapped one summer day at a very pleasant time. He was a purveyor of joy, a quiet craftsman of small, sweet moments for the young and the young at heart. The evenings after his routes were always a time for quiet reflection and much-needed rest. He'd sit on his own porch, watching fireflies dance, and listen to the gentle chirping of crickets nearby. It was a perfect coda to a day filled with the bright energy of children and the sun's warm embrace. He remembered the distinct taste of a perfectly tart lemon ice and the rich creaminess of a chocolate malt. These flavors, like the era itself, were simple, honest, and truly unforgettable for everyone. Roy never earned vast sums of money, but he always had enough, and that was a true blessing. He lived a life abundant in purpose and quiet contribution, much like a steadfast tree in a cherished garden. He saw new subdivisions emerge, bringing even more potential customers to his expanding route list. Roy was a gentle, consistent thread woven into the fabric of Elmwood's continuing development and growth. Do you recall how your own hometown transformed over the years, yet kept its special character intact? He had inadvertently become a maker of memories, a curator of childhood joys, and fleeting, happy moments. Roy never imagined this job would become such a profound source of personal contentment and deep joy. It fit him perfectly, like a well-worn glove, comfortable and familiar after many devoted years of service. The joyous sound of children's running feet always signaled his arrival, a delightful rush of eager anticipation. It was a priceless sound, a symphony of pure, unbridled excitement that never failed to make him smile. He had lived a good life, a simple life, but one that was rich in quiet meaning and genuine connection. Roy had done his part, contributing to the fabric of suburban life, one sweet treat at a time. He was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes about his kind heart and gentle spirit. He could still recall the nervous excitement of his very first day, almost 15 summers ago now. The scent of warm asphalt and blooming honeysuckle still brought back the sweet essence of those days. His was a small, quiet legacy built on ice cream, smiles, and the steady hum of his trusty truck. He was a dispenser of happiness, a bringer of momentary bliss to many eager, waiting faces. Roy had fulfilled his quiet mission, spreading joy through the sun-drenched streets of Elmwood, Illinois. A profound sense of contentment washed over him, like a gentle, cooling breeze on a hot summer evening. His was a life well lived, a testament to the enduring beauty of simple, honest, and dedicated labor. He had touched more lives than he would ever truly know with his sweet offerings and his steady presence. Roy Fletcher, the ice cream man, was a quiet hero of summer, a beloved figure to many generations. His occupation was unique, offering a direct, joyful connection to the heart of every neighborhood. He often thought of those bright, happy summers, each one a vivid painting in his mind's eye. He had seen the world through the hopeful, eager eyes of children, finding beauty in every single day. And in his own small way, he had made that world a little sweeter, a little brighter, for countless others. Roy had found his place, his purpose, and his lasting legacy in the gentle hum of his freezer and engine. Those 15 summers would live forever, cherished memories that warmed his heart and truly soul. And sometimes, on a warm evening breeze, Roy could still almost hear the faint, distant jingle,